Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here. Columnist Ryan Karchi. Zach Osterman in the back. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, Indiana survives, gets their third win over a ranked team tonight, beats Michigan 73-71.
Still sounds weird.
Yeah, a little bit. It is a little bit strange. It's a little bit different that this has kind of become commonplace. I guess that they beat good teams. And
we expected this to happen tonight.
Yeah, pretty much. When they were favored significantly. I don't even know if they covered tonight.
I don't think they did. I think it was 8. I think.
Wow.
I don't know if that was the
points.
final line, but.
So that tells you something. But one way or another, they hung in there. I guess Tom Crean kept using the word grit repeatedly tonight.
So you know he was happy.
Exactly.
Right?
So he was happy. He was talking.
To Atlanta tomorrow. Bye.
There you go. He's not really leaving. But anyway, Indiana really did have to grit this one out. There was some ugly play. They had a hard time getting anything out of their guards tonight. Yeah, a good bit. But Christian Watford goes off for 25. He's really pretty much on a roll right now, and Cody Zeller with 18. They were the only two guys in double figures, but
the other guys
that was all they needed.
The other guys were 6 for 20 for I think 16 points tonight. So it was
It's a little bit more than that, but yeah.
Well, that's the starters.
The other starters. Sorry, the other
4
starters
from
were 6
behind
for
the
20.
line.
Mm-hmm.
Only I'm staring at it here. Took 6 free throws the whole night.
Not good.
Yeah,
It was not. I mean, Indiana did not play very well tonight.
But as good as
Not
as
particularly.
bad as mediocre as they
offensively,
were,
at least.
as
They were.
mediocre
were
as they
just-
were, Christian Watford and Cody Zeller were pretty much spectacular.
It was a
when
night where Indiana needed to go to its all stars. It needed it felt a lot like Notre Dame, except against a much better team.
Yeah, and it was a different way. I mean,
Yeah.
it happened in a
Much
different
more
fashion, but there were guys who were
outside
just
in,
not.
inside out.
Yeah, I mean, Jordy Halls did not have a particularly good night. Was just 1 for 4. Hit a 3 at the beginning, and then pretty much disappeared. Verdell Jones had one of the most sort of up and down evenings that you could imagine. There was hate, and then there was love, and there was hate, and then there was love again, and
4 turnovers, 6 assists, 8 points.
8 points, and just a
Crucially
monster.
missed free throw.
Crucially missed free
but
throw.
a crucially made jump
Critical
shot.
made jumper that pretty much was more or less the game winner with the shot clock running down. Just absolutely had to make a play and knocked one down. So he was very much up and down. But I thought the key really tonight, though, as good as Watford was and as good as Zeller was Verdell Jones' defense on Trey Burke. I think was kind of exceptional.
Trey Burke, I have to admit, I had hyped up Trey Burke as the key to this game for Michigan and for Indiana to stop, and he did not play well.
Well, I don't think he wasn't the key. I don't think you were wrong. I think.
I think the fact that they defended that well was
huge. They took him away, and
he could not collapse
won.
tonight, and therefore did not open up enough things for Michigan's 3-point shooters.
Not
Hardaway
quite
was
enough.
0 of 7. Well, not quite enough, but really, I don't think that Burke was creating a lot of those.
No, I mean Hardaway eventually kind of got
he did have 8
some
assists,
degree.
mind you.
Yeah, he did have 8 assists.
Wasn't a very good
that
night.
was
He
a
had
little
10
bit of a
points and 8
stretch.
assists.
I mean, he was 4 for 15
And
from the
7
field was the big
rebounds.
thing. I mean, it was more what it really was more so
He's very
it's
good.
2 guys that are going to get theirs. Basically, it's somehow, some way, you just got to limit them as much. You can't let them just direct everything they want to do. And Burke did get a few heads, did get 8 assists, did get 10 points, and they shot the ball really well to get back into it. Michigan hits 10 3-pointers. They definitely found a rhythm, but it took them a while. It definitely took them a while, and that allowed Indiana to get out to a lead. They obviously gave it up, but they got it back, but they gave it up again. But one of that allowed them to establish the control at the beginning. I want to say that Burke and Hardaway are combined 3 for their first 15. And I think 3 for 15 in the first half, and that allowed Indiana to kind of get to put a gap in a little bit. And Michigan was not necessarily on its heels; they had to fight back, and they did. I mean, they made a bunch of big 3-pointers, but just containing those guys at the beginning, keeping them from doing exactly what it was they wanted to do, was pretty crucial.
And Burke and Hardaway ended up. I mean, they were only 11 of 34. So
yeah, they had to take a lot of shots.
If you're Indiana, especially
points.
Tim Hardaway, I mean, he was 0 for 7 from 3-point
2
range.
of 12
And
combined from 3-point
if he would have made
7
one of those 3-pointers,
7 of
It's a
Michigan's
different game.
12
It's a different
turnovers
game.
come from those 2 guys.
Yeah, no. So there was a lot of harassment there. I mean, Michigan, they're going to stay in a game like that. I mean, and I think that was kind of if you constantly kind of stick on the narrative is how is this team sort of evolving? How is this team maturing as it gets to different games? As Tom Crean said, they won 14 games. They won them 14 different ways, and this is one of those nights where you have to kind of recognize. I think this was a little different. Yeah, I mean, okay, there was 10 that were pretty much blowouts. That's a good point. But of the teams they've beat that were
good.
legitimate challenges. Kind of, there's been sort of a little bit of a different challenge every time, and this was the get up big, but recognize that you're playing a team that shoots really well, and they're going to come back. So you
and learn how to
win-
keep a lead.
and win ugly. I mean, we've talked about them winning ugly before, but like never against a team like this. Never,
It's a different
never
type
against
of ugly.
I mean, let's put it this way: Michigan is the number 16 team in the country. They are probably at least the 16th best team in the country. This is a good team. It's a deep team.
Yeah, it's
You
got a
know,
lot of athleticism, a lot of talent, a lot of shooters.
And they all just it's just like the perfect John Beeline team. I mean, it's like those Beeline teams that he used to build at West Virginia that were just stamped for the Elite Eight every single year.
Right.
And they you know, they did just enough. And it was one of those nights where they were hitting those offensive lulls they've talked about how they desperately need to avoid. And I think Tom Crean kind of touched on this a little bit. They really missed Will Sheehy tonight.
Oh, yeah,
If they
God,
have
yeah.
Sheehy, both in the technical sense, if they have Sheehy to match up with somebody defensively, it doesn't matter who. I think
Yeah,
it's different.
sure.
And also, you know, Sheehy is one of those spark plug guys. Maybe the most, other than when Jordan Hulse gets on his little 3-point tears,
Yeah.
maybe the most spark plug guy in terms of coming in, creating energy, creating momentum, getting other guys on the team going.
Yeah.
You know, I think they missed that somewhat against Ohio State and probably somewhat against Michigan State. I think they really missed it
I
tonight.
think tonight was the most evident.
They
I
just-
think. I mean,
they
they
just
obviously
looked
missed
kinda
against Michigan State. I mean, he
Dead
maybe gets them
for
back in
long
there.
stretches
Yeah.
tonight.
Sheehy is. It seems to be one of those guys that has a feel for the time when no one else really has it, and kind of realizes that, you know, if I just hit a couple, if I drive, if I dunk on somebody, I'm gonna wake everybody up. And he's got a bunch of little different things he can go to make that start to happen. He can do it on defense. He can do it on offense. He can do it from the perimeter. He can do it driving the basketball. You know, get a rebound, get a putback. He's that guy when everything just looks bad and you just need to just get something somehow. Sheehy's that guy, and you saw long stretches where that just wasn't happening tonight.
Yeah.
And if he's in this game, I mean, you have another guy. You can put Sheehy on Tim Hardaway, and you can have
Defensively, it's a whole different
Oladipo
ballgame.
in the game, and you can put him on Trey Burke, and maybe those guys shoot even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take anything away from what Verdell Jones did, because he kind of used his length to his advantage. I don't think
Right.
he was necessarily fast enough to keep up with Trey Burke, but you saw his length
He
kind
kept
of
him
help.
in front of him. It was one
kinda
of
help
those
him
deals
out.
where you play a guy who's quicker than you and you keep him in front of him
The
because
help
you just
defense
stretch your
was
arms
very
out.
good tonight. Tom
It
Pritchard
was.
was very good defensively tonight.
Well,
It's
yeah,
stuff that's not
there
gonna
was a
stand
lot
out,
of
but
there
a
were
lot of isolations. Who was he?
He
picking? Was it
ISO'd on
Hardaway?
Trey
He was on
Burke.
Burke and Hardaway both.
He's on Trey
Yeah.
Burke 2 or
Yeah.
3 times.
And
not
did
one.
fine.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. No, he
at
was out at
least-
the top of the key, and you're like, wow, that's going to end badly.
He did it to
and
Jordan
he
Taylor
did it
last
just
year,
fine.
too, and we all thought, oh God, but he did all right. Of course, Taylor was in an ungodly zone that night.
Yeah,
but,
that he wasn't missing that night, no matter what. But yeah, I think that was you definitely, you know, Oladipo got in foul trouble, and Crean made it very clear. He said, you know, no one misses Will more than Vic, and that's very true. I mean, they're kind of partners in crime to begin with, and that was good, wasn't it? Shut up.
No, I just imagine them running around Bloomington committing crimes, like little petty crimes with
Little-
like,
Wearing
masks-
little costumes.
masks
Little
over
masks
their
and stuff
eyes,
like that, like dressed like all
Get away! Get away! Driving like an Oldsmobile or
Anyway,
Anyway, we've drifted. But yeah, that obviously hurt him. And Oladipo had 4 fouls. I mean, I think if they were part of the reason that Hardaway eventually did get his points is that Oladipo was in foul trouble, couldn't play as much. If you have that kind of rotating trio of Verdell and Sheehy and Oladipo on those two guys, they're even more dominant on them, I think. Real quick, I want to talk about Watford. I think we addressed him at the beginning. I mean, how much of a leap is he making in
It's been
January?
a tremendous leap.
I mean, he's taking over games. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't really speak to it as much in the last few seasons, but he's just. I mean, ever since that shot against Kentucky, it seems like he's kind of
He's
been
had some bad games,
reinvigorated.
but he has been.
He's had bad games, but they weren't in the worst spots for Indiana. I mean,
I would go back for, I would say, the second half against NC State.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember
You're
all
exactly
the things
right. He
that
got
we used
ripped
to
on that
complain
game.
about him not
the
doing.
rebounds and that.
All the
Rebounding,
things,
not
the
jumping high,
rebounding,
slow motor.
the
Yeah.
slow motor, the lack of defensive energy. Those are the things that aren't problems anymore.
No.
And that second half against NC State, Indiana needed someone to basically just sack up. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on.
We're going to go with it. We're just going to go with it.
And clean up the boards. Just get the Wolfpack off the boards. And
Yeah.
Watford was that guy.
After
As
he
big-
got
as
called
big
out,
as
too.
Hulse
After he got
was-
called
or
out.
Excuse me, as big as Zeller was in that second half at NC State.
Watford was
was the
huge.
one that started everything, and from
Absolutely.
that point on,
Mhm.
he has just kind of had this focus and this
Mhm.
and this understanding, this great feel for when to go to the drive-in jumper, when to take the spot-up three-pointer. You know, he talked a lot tonight about how he felt like he feels like he's noticing better when he's got, you know, even when he's guarded, when he's got a good shot, because maybe the guy in front of him doesn't have a lot of length, or he
And
knows he's not
he's
gonna be able to
6'9".
get up
You
in
can
front
shoot
of
over him.
Yeah,
Crean,
I mean,
Crean
he's-
said he can see, especially.
This
That
is the
was way
Christian
he was-
Watford that was a top 40 player out of high school that we all thought had NBA talent.
Exactly. Got to cut this off real quick, but I think that goes back to all we keep saying about, you know, player-driven team. Why did that happen? At least in part because guys literally kind of grabbed him by the shirt and said, "What are you doing?"
Or
in
at
that
least,
game.
or at least he came to realize that if he didn't improve, somebody was, you
Gonna
know,
take his spot.
If Christian
Gonna
Watford
take his
doesn't
time.
improve, he starts over.
Exactly. But another big win. Gonna State on Sunday. Thanks.